Peace, family. We are now live. Oh, y'all in for a treat tonight. Y'all see who I got on with me tonight? It's gonna be one of them shows. Yeah, I see y'all ready in the chat. Listen, family, we about to get started. I want y'all to get comfortable. Before I introduce my guest, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share the video. This is something that yourself or your loved one will definitely benefit from. I need y'all to share this particular video. This is something we all know somebody who could benefit from the message being delivered tonight in this video. Let me get to a quick commercial. We have an official release date for Holy Ghost 3. And we'll be right back after this commercial, y'all. Family, shout out to Cambada. Official release date December 16th. But to move on today's show, I want to welcome back to the platform Erin Lyons. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be here. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, definitely. Listen, Erin, it's a very important topic tonight. I'm glad I'm able to discuss this with you tonight because I feel that what I appreciate about your perspective is you always give a quantum, multidimensional perspective on things that I think that is something that we didn't get 10,
Mhm.
20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So I think this is a new, fresh perspective that we could all benefit from and then we could
Absolutely.
all pass down to future generations. So we're talking about anxiety and depression tonight and the spiritual meaning of
Mhm.
anxiety and depression. So to start out with, Erin, I don't want to ease into the conversation as if we're like this is a basic platform and you have basic information. We got a lot of advanced people listening. You deliver a lot of advanced information. I ask advanced questions. I got a personal question that I want to go right into tonight that I think that's going to be a good starting point and that I definitely wanted your opinion on. When it comes to anxiety, Erin, sometimes anxiety feels so closely related to me personally, and I'm personalizing this. Sometimes
Mhm.
anxiety could feel so closely related to intuition, to where if I get an intuitive thought, I get a feeling. I'm like, why do I feel that way? Why do I feel that way?
Sure.
Then if I'm anxious about something, I get a thought, why do I feel that way? Why do I feel that way? And it's all because I feel as though sometimes, Erin, it's because I have more access to the light spectrum being an empath. I got more access to the light spectrum than the average person. So having more access, I have more like I'm more jittery sometimes. Like I can feel
Mhm.
things. I feel the
Mhm.
computer. I gotta wear blue light glasses, this and that, that and that. So talk to me about for a person like me, like I said, I'm personalizing, I'm jumping in right into it like that. A person who may have spiritual abilities, Erin, and they may feel like their intuition has this close connection to what society may call anxiety, Erin.
So I think there are different types of anxiety, and the anxiety you're talking about is more so of a psychic hit, like your emotional guidance system. So I see emotions as like this guidance system that is always telling us basically what's in alignment with truth, what's in
Mm,
alignment with love, what's in alignment with our highest action and steps for the day. So if it's the type of anxiety that happens in moments where you need to understand how to navigate the situation, that's more psychic in nature. But
Mm,
then we have anxiety that is more so energetic residue
mm,
of subconscious programs and beliefs and trapped trauma and emotions in the body. So
mm,
if you're experiencing anxiety on an ongoing basis, that's a different type of anxiety.
mhm,
If it's
mhm,
anxiety that's actually a energetic signal, a translation, a download from source for how to navigate the moment, that's
mm,
different. And you want to acknowledge that and you want to follow how you're feeling in your body.
mhm. That's an excellent breakdown how you differentiated what I'm talking about from another form of anxiety. And I think that's important. I think with the English language, we get one word and we're trying to figure out so many different emotions, how it's tied into this one word, and it becomes very confusing.
For sure.
Let me ask you a question personally, Aaron. Would you rather have, they say with anxiety, you're worried about the future or the past instead of being focused in the present.
Mhm.
Is it more peaceful to you, Aaron, to have no thought or to have a positive thought?
I think well, I see having no thought as beneficial for when you want to energetically cleanse, when you recognize that because thoughts build in momentum. When you think a negative thought, it attracts another negative thought and then it just expands and it expands and it expands. Like that's what anxiety is. That's
Mm,
also what depression is. It's when we build up this momentum of thoughts that just vibrationally bring us down.
mm,
So you are enjoying the thoughts that you're thinking, I'm hearing Source say, then engage with them.
mm,
So even how I approach this whole mental realm, you as the observer and the director of your mind, you choose which thoughts you want to engage with. And it can become to the point that something really disturbing can come into your mind. But as the observer, if you're anchored in this power, you can simply say, you know what? Nope. No, thank you. Actually, I'm not engaging with that. And then the thought actually dissipates because you didn't fuel it with your attention. You didn't fuel it with fear, or you didn't attach or associate a meaning to that thought, and so it just passed through. So if you like what you're thinking, it's showing you that that thought is in alignment. If you don't like what you're thinking, then you can try to go into no thought via meditation or distract yourself, get into a flow state, do something that takes you out of mind and brings you into presence, into body.
mhm. You know, do you think sometimes they say ignorance is bliss? Do you think the more you learn about spirituality, the more you learn about the world, the more anxious you get? Do you think ignorant people have it the best where they don't give a fuck about nothing? They just chilling. Like because they teach us to, the more I find out about dimensions and then I gotta learn about the quantum world, and then I gotta learn about how to die and not go to the light. And this it's like, whoa. It's like overload. So do you think spirituality brings on the actual anxiety that we want to
Mm.
get rid of before we even got into spirituality in the first place?
For sure. And I see this is like when people get into psychosis and it's because you're not grounded.
Mm,
You become overly analytical about every single experience in your reality as opposed to just being, to
mm,
just existing, to just observing, witnessing. Um you can't be overly consumed with trying to analyze every single aspect of reality. So yes, ignorance is bliss because in ignorance there's no accountability and there's no responsibility. And that's why when we start spiritually awakening, it can be really challenging for our human psyche and our ego to get on board with, oh, I actually create and attract and magnetize everything that's being drawn into my experience. And that can be really draining for some people. It can create pressure, it can create anxiety. So this is when it's important to ground yourself and create time for play. Like don't try to decode every single thing that's happening. That's
mm.
just going to drive you insane.
Right. A lot of people, whether you live in a hood or you don't live in a hood, a lot of people when they're young, they buy drugs off the street. There's some, it could be pills, it could be marijuana, it could be whatever, but they're buying certain illegal substances off the street. Then once we get older, Aaron, in this society, in this world, we get our drugs off the counter and we call it legal. So we get our drugs off the counter and we call it legal. The reason why I bring that up is because one of the things when we're talking about anxiety and we're talking about depression, one of the things somebody will immediately say to you or to me, Aaron, is go see a therapist. But sometimes, Aaron, the end all be all of therapy is, well, take this drug. Here, take this
Mhm.
drug. So we're all telling people, well, go to therapy for your problems. But then when you go to therapy, they're offering you the drugs that the same person when you was 9, 10 years old offered you. The same person. They're just dressed differently. They may have a different skin color, but it's the same drug. So talk to me about, do you feel as though, what do you think about therapy in today's age and any possible alternatives for therapy for people who are looking for genuine help?
Well, firstly, anxiety, depression, really any illness that we're experiencing, and source was wanting to say illusion that we're experiencing, that's not well-being or a
Mm,
state of health and abundance, is a symptom of what's happening energetically. So we live in this world where we're not getting to the core of what's actually happening to us on a spiritual, energetic level. So when I have people come into my healing sessions, like I see so many things. It could be cancer, it could be a tumor, it could be like, I don't care how scary it sounds. We always get to the energetic reason for this thing materializing or manifesting in the physical. So the drug is just treating the symptom. And that's something we all pretty much know right now. But what do you do about that? Therapy can be helpful for people that, I see that as like a step one
okay.
for people who just have never spoken about experiences. So those emotions, those feelings, those thoughts are just trapped inside of them. However, the issue with therapy is when we're talking about like energetic momentum, the more you talk about problems, they just expand. So I think that traditional therapy doesn't understand that you can't just keep talking about things and keep talking about things, and you're actually never going to get to the root of it. And that's where spirituality, in my personal opinion, obviously as a healer, comes into place, because sometimes these things are also connected to past slash parallel lifetime.
Mhm,
You don't know why this thing is presenting itself, but it's energetic residue of this parallel aspect of you that hasn't fully reconciled with something. So it can really be multidimensional when we're getting to the root cause of things that are showing up.
mhm. Aaron, why does it seem that some people have a clear cut purpose? And when people have a clear cut purpose, I hope I'm saying that. All right. They seem focused in life and they have tunnel vision and they want to achieve what they want to achieve and they focus on that and they stay away from the distractions. Some people, regardless of how much they concentrate and they try to figure out, they just can't figure out their purpose. What I want to ask you, Aaron, is through your knowledge, talking to source, studying quantum physics, does everybody have a purpose? And if not, that seems like some effed up shit right there. That we all that we all don't have a purpose. Because I know my purpose is clear cut and it makes me extremely happy. But why wouldn't everybody
Yeah.
have a purpose, Aaron? And if so, that how to navigate that.
Everyone definitely has a purpose, but I want to just expand us all into this new frequency.
Mm,
Purpose is multidimensional. There is no one purpose. You
mm,
can be experiencing something right now, and that is your purpose for now. And
mm,
then what happens is you start to recognize how the thread is weaving through different aspects of your journey. And so I I believe that this is where immense presence comes into place. Like getting out of this loop of constantly trying to get to the next place just allows you to be present with what's unfolding, because it is a part of the purpose that is ever expanding and unfolding. But the more you put this, and I see this all the time, like this pressure, this emphasis that this is my one purpose, it just it creates limitations, it creates boundaries. Allow yourself to be the multidimensional being that you are. This is my purpose, that's my purpose. Oh, I'm learning this right now, that's connecting to a bigger picture. Now the energy is moving because you're not perceiving that you're not doing something that you should be doing.
Indeed. And okay, okay. That I like that. I like that. No, I definitely like that. And to the people in the chat, I mean, the people in the chat have so many questions. I'm going to get to the questions a little early tonight. I know this isn't a very important topic for the people in the chat. A lot of people are dealing with this or have somebody that's dealing with. So give me about a half an hour and then I'm going to get to the chat. All right. So give me half an
Okay.
hour, then I'm going to get
Okay.
to a chat. I'm going to get to a lot of your questions because I want y'all to get a lot of the help that y'all may need. All right, family. But make sure you hit the like button while we get going, get this thing going right now. Um, Erin, so do you think it's sometimes when I'm gonna use another no, let me say this. Sometimes when we are confronted with people, people will bring us anxiety, people will bring us bad vibes, people will bring us a bad feeling. From a quantum physics perspective, do you think it's more helpful to look at the person as a frequency opposed
Mhm.
to a person, so we won't take it personal? So we could just say, "Oh, that's the frequency of fear coming again." Oh, Aaron represents the frequency of abundance. Okay, and we're just looking at these people as frequencies as a people. Do you think that might help better than to look at people as individual beings? So because the four agreements say don't take shit personal. So do you think
Right,
that
right.
might do you think that might be of some help, Aaron?
Now this is going to trigger some people, but
Uh-oh, come
that's
on.
okay.
Yeah.
Whoever you're magnetizing into your field is always a reflection of you on some level, your
Hmm.
own shadow. So if you find yourself repetitively in situations where you're around negative people or people that aren't supporting you, people who don't uplift you, people who just have a negative vibe, you want to start asking yourself, why am I a vibrational match? Like when it comes to shadow work, this is really like the one question that we only ever have to use.
Mm.
Why am I a vibrational match to this person or this experience? And
Yeah.
again, like you were saying, it's not personal, but also don't take it personal with yourself, like towards yourself. Because you attracted it, it's okay, but just ask the question, why did I attract this? Inquire. This is self inquiry. This is inner investigation. This is when you start understanding what's actually happening with you internally. And
Hmm.
most of the times it's unresolved trauma that's attracting these types of people in our field. So if it keeps showing up and it makes you feel if it makes you feel a certain way, ask yourself where in the past was there an experience that made me feel this same way that I didn't fully maybe forgive or release or reconcile because it's still it's still attracting that energy unto itself.
You know what's weird, Aaron? A lot of people, like I've been doing interviews for quite some time since I was a young kid, and a lot of people who say they're chosen ones or conscious, woke, light workers, whatever term we're using in that day, they say they attract narcissists. Why would a light worker or a chosen one attract them? It seems like narcissists and chosen ones keep getting drawn toward each other. What's the deal with that?
Ah, so true. Um so typically light workers have like a really sensitive sort of psychic system and makeup and
Mhm.
this extreme compassion and empathy. So what they usually do is they see the best in people even when people are showing them something else. It's actually just encoded
Oh.
within the being. However, this is where energetic boundaries come into play. And I see this like really, really often with a lot of my clients who have like a earth angelic frequency and they can't understand why they keep attracting these shadows, but it's because their higher self is keeps putting them in these situations where they need to recognize that upholding light and love also doesn't mean that you lack power.
Mm.
This is when you become the light warrior. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
yes, it's love and light. However, I don't have to accept and tolerate things that cross my energetic boundaries, right? Like, this is my energetic standard for the types of interactions that I allow in my field, or else what you're probably doing is people pleasing. And that's also coming from an unhealed place of you wanting love no matter what it comes with, wanting external love no matter what it comes with. And that's something you have to address within self.
You know what's interesting, Aaron? So I want to give a real life example. I'm gonna get a little raw. Give a real life example. So, because that's how we learn the most from real life examples.
Mhm.
So sometimes I find that when I've come across certain females in my life, right? I would say I tell a female, I'll be like, say I just this is like a hood story, hood perspective. I'll be like, yo, that nigga ain't shit, man. Why you messing? And she'll be like, the woman will be like, he didn't give me a reason to not think he's not shit. So he gets an A until he gives me a reason to give him a C, D, E, or F. So she'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Sort of like you said, she'll give him the benefit of the doubt before until he gives her a reason or like a physical reason for her
Mhm.
not to trust him. And I'm like, damn. And then something will happen where he'll double cross her. And I'll be like, yo, why didn't she see that coming? But it seems
Right.
as though Erin, like she was so positive about the situation, which we are taught to
Mm.
be. She
Mhm.
was so optimistic about the situation that she couldn't see it. It's almost like if a person comes in the elevator with you, he clearly looks like a robber, but you're like, nah, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm a positive individual. So it's confusing. It's like, do
It
we
is.
judge? Do we not judge? How do we
It
navigate
is.
this?
This is why we call it a shadow, because we can't see it. We can't see what we're actually attracting. We're seeing the package, right? We're
Yeah,
seeing the package with the bow and like all the bells and the whistles. And we're like, this dude is popping. Like, this is it. This female is popping.
yeah.
But what's beneath the surface, that's what we usually see when we like deeply get involved with people. And that's where we can begin to recognize what we're actually attracting. So
Mm,
I want to share a personal story as well. Over the last few months, I had been attracting like all these people, more so like in business experiences or friendships, that type of thing, where there was like this unspoken energy of competition that I felt from them, or like a feeling like there was misinterpretation, like just this weird energy. And what I ended up recognizing when I just kind of did some inner shadow work and traced it back, I was shown my teen years where I felt deeply misunderstood by my parents.
mm,
And that energy of feeling misunderstood was attracting people that made me feel misunderstood. So I just want to paint the picture for
yeah,
how you can use that process to understand
mhm,
why certain patterns and cycles and themes may be showing up in your interactions with people. And
mm,
so once I went back in that timeline and like did what I needed to do to reconcile those experiences, I was able to release reflections, those types of reflections, but then also call in like what I call this new octave, this new set of reflections that are now fully in resonance with how I want to feel when I'm
mhm.
working with people.
Mm, mm. No, definitely, definitely. And what would you tell to somebody, Erin, that may be addicted to the emotion of the, because we
Mm,
talk about neural pathways in our
yeah.
mind, and some people, your body may be looking for, like, I remember Joe Dispenza said, if you get angry every day at 7 o'clock p.m. in the evening,
Mhm.
and one day and a day comes and you don't get angry at that time, your body's looking for that chemistry. It's looking for that hit of anger, or whatever whatever you usually give it. So it will find a way. It will self-sabotage your reality in order for it to get that, because it think that's food. Whatever emotion you keep giving your body think that that's the food of the day. So talk to me,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to somebody who's addicted to a certain emotion to the point where it gets them through every day? It's like they can't function without it.
Yeah, and I've personally experienced this particularly with money. Like if you've had certain lackful experiences with money and then you start expanding into more, your brain
Mhm.
almost like looks for that same loop of I don't have
Mhm.
enough money.
Mhm.
So it is an addiction. And
Mhm.
what you have to do is you have to start reprogramming yourself with new responses. So like when that trigger presents itself, first you have to become the observer. That's what's going to neutralize the emotion,
I'm an
but you
observer.
have to have something that you replace it with. So in this scenario, what I had to do was, okay, instead of feeling unsafe in this new frequency of money or wealth or whatever because of the lack vibration, go
Mhm.
into gratitude. I'm so happy and thankful that this is here. And
Mhm.
so the more you do that, then it becomes your new dominant neural pathway.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one thing you can do. The other thing that you can do that I teach people is we have to debunk the limiting belief, the core subconscious belief, for our subconscious to even receive like this new pattern or program. So for an example, if I'm looking at this scenario with money, how I would debunk, I don't know, oh, I'm probably going to go back to being broke again, I
Mhm.
would basically disprove to myself how and why that's not true
Mhm. Mhm.
via quantum reality, like whatever it is, disprove it, because once you disprove it, you will never believe in it again. The
Mm.
issue is that people are not actually changing the core belief, and that belief holds an attraction power that just keeps pulling things in that affirms that belief.
Mm. Oh, definitely, definitely. Do you feel as though, Aaron, the more, let's say, empathy, because we're taught about empathy, we're taught about compassion,
Mhm.
and when we have these traits, it seems sometimes, Aaron, that we are hardwired to the matrix when we have these traits, because when something's going on in the Middle East or in Africa, wherever, we kind of feel it sometimes.
Mhm.
And do you feel as though the more knowledge we get and we learn about the quantum world and that this is an illusion, do you feel as though that lessens our empathy, where we have protesters out there protesting, being depressed and sad about the state of the world, and here we are into metaphysics, into the quantum realm, saying that's an illusion, I'm gonna focus on my personal reality, and that doesn't matter because I'm successful, I'm getting it, I got a husband, I got a wife, I got children, so I'm good where I'm at. Do you feel as though
Yeah.
that closes us off from the suffering of what we call the world, learning this knowledge, Aaron?
If anything, it makes you more compassionate because you understand that those people are simply in a state of unawareness on some level.
Okay.
Now, when we get into places like the Middle East or the Congo and these different things that are happening, they are largely contractual, meaning the soul has chosen to incarnate in that specific geographical location for a reason. It doesn't mean that we emotionally shut ourselves off from empathizing with the experience, but as a gatekeeper of light, if that's what you want to be,
Mhm.
there's a balance. There's a balance of being in compassion and doing what you can where you can, but also understanding the illusion. If you get overly consumed in the illusion what's happening, you actually lower you lower the vibration of the collective grid. So
Woo,
we
talk to me.
all are playing different roles as well. Like the way
Yeah,
that I help the collective is through spiritual ascension because that's just what I'm here to do.
right.
Somebody else, they might need to like march and protest or like rally lobbyists and do that thing. So we're all doing it in our own way. But if you want to be a true guardian and gatekeeper of light, yes, compassion and empathy, but keeping yourself in a state of empowerment so you truly can help, because if you vibrationally come down to that level, you don't contribute to the quantum timeline jump that we could take collectively.
Mhm, mhm. So, Aaron, we have this word called high frequency, low frequency. When you think positive, we say, oh, you're on a high frequency. If I came in here and I started talking negative and I'm just talking bad about everybody in the chat. They'll say, Brother Rich, you're on a low frequency tonight. Get yourself together. Come back when you're on high frequency. That's what they would say, right? So check this, Aaron. But the thing, this is the interesting thing, Aaron. This is the interesting thing. I come with the low frequency and I dominate the room. Everybody leaves and they in a bad vibe after that. And they like, oh man, he changed the frequency. Why
Mhm.
are low frequency? Why does it seem that low frequency have more people have more power than high frequency people? Because sometimes it seems as though I can't change the trolls' opinion, but it seems as though the trolls could change high frequency people's opinion.
That's more so a reflection of your own stability in your frequency. Meaning, if I have the dominant vibration, it doesn't
Mm.
matter who I'm around, I'm not absorbing their energy. If
Right, right, right,
anything,
right.
they're going to shift from my energy because I'm so anchored in that high vibration that one, the energy in the room is neutralized, or what happens is if that same negative person who's negative with everybody else, when they're engaging with me, I can activate a parallel version of them that's a totally different version.
Right,
So
right.
how I see this is it's just showing you where you may not be fully anchored in the high frequency. So you're being like energetically swayed because of them.
Mm-hmm,
And like really this is simple. Just what source is saying is stop attaching a meaning to them being negative or positive, because when you say, well, they're really negative and that was really negative and that's bothering me, now you are like wrapped up into their field. But if you actually don't care if people are in a good mood or a bad mood and you're just in your good mood,
mm-hmm,
now you have the dominant vibration and you are the influencer in the room, the energetic influencer in the room.
mm-hmm. What is it, Aaron, that is appealing about? I don't know if misery is the word, but a lot of rich people are not satisfied with what we call riches. And when they see somebody in the hood struggling, they're very curious and they wonder what is it like to experience that. And it almost it fascinates them. So what is it about what we may call struggle, what we may call hardship, what we may be called depression, that another entity sees that is attracted to that and that's fascinated by that? What is that about?
So first, Rich, I have to I have to say this. We don't want to ever say
Oh.
all rich people do, because that will create the subconscious belief for some people here that that's like the truth when really it's subjective. I'm
Right.
just saying this so
Yes.
people can free themselves of perceptions about wealth that actually keep them in a state of blocking wealth.
Yes. You're right. You're right. Yes. Yes.
But um in that world, there can be layers of surface level experiences for some people. We're not going to generalize, but for some people,
Mm-hmm.
that makes them curious and attracted to like the deeper levels of emotions that people experience that are
Mm-hmm.
going through like more challenging times. But what I'm
Mm-hmm.
even seeing with this is also how people are still able to experience love when they do live in the hood, when things are not going well, when they are broke.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're really unhappy and you have everything that the world thinks you should have,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to really fascinate you when you see people who are still finding ways to experience joy. It's like when you go to a third world country, you know, you're like driving to your resort from the airport,
Mm-hmm.
but you see like a kid with no shoes on running down the street laughing and smiling and playing, and then you're questioning your whole existence like, why the fuck am I so upset if he can be happy? And
Mm-hmm.
that's fascinating. That's
Mm-hmm.
why people like um charitable giving and going to these places and spending time around people who seem to have nothing, but they still find a way to create this like interconnectivity. And I think specifically when it comes to the Black community and just all of the trauma of our ancestors over the recent uh 2 to 600 years, I think that's really intriguing. How are they so creative? How do they still find ways to be um joyful or make the most out of their circumstances. It would make you question your experience.
Hmm. Hmm. No, definitely, definitely, indeed. And so when we talk about anxiety, Erin, one of the things that bring us anxiety is waiting on the future. Somebody may be say I'm waiting to become a professional basketball player, a successful basketball player.
Mhm.
So constantly thinking about the future may bring me anxiety because my present reality may not be in alignment with what I imagine in my future. So there's a word in the English language called patience, and they say have patience.
Mhm.
What I want to ask you, Aaron, is do you think patience is a trick word in the English language because it keeps us in the waiting frequency? And what seems like what you teach, Aaron, is that what you imagine it, you have it. So if I want to be a successful basketball player, I'm it right now. But if I'm taught to be patient, I have to wait to be it. So I'm in the wait 10
Mm.
frequency. So do you think patience, and Esther Hicks, she touched on this before. I don't remember exactly, but she introduced the concept of patience being somewhat tricky to me. So I got to give her props.
Mhm.
But talk to me about the possibility of patience being kind of tricky where we get caught in a waiting frequency instead of a now frequency.
Mm. Mm. Patience, when you're not operating in your ego, is actually about faith, trust, and surrender.
Mhm.
Because what most people do is they attach or they have an attachment on when they think it should happen. But
Mm,
you don't have the bird's eye view. Source has the bird's eye view. Infinite intelligence can see actually not right now, because when you get it at this specific time, it'll be like 10 times better. So
right.
the patience, when we're like coming from this heart-centered trust, is actually about knowing that you are getting what you want, and probably even greater and beyond what you think you're going to get.
Mhm.
So taking the attachment away actually puts you in a frequency of contentment. And I want you guys to think about this energy of contentment. When I'm
Mhm.
content, what I'm actually radiating to the universe is, it doesn't matter if I get it now, tomorrow, next week. I'm already in a frequency and a state of
Right.
abundance, and
Right.
then it can just come rushing in. So contentment is the
Mm,
same energy as completion, and completion is literally a shortcut to collapsing time. So
ooh.
if you see patience as a delay, it will be that. If you see patience as the shortcut into the unknown, it will become that, because you are the creator. You are projecting the meaning to whatever experience you're having.
Deep, deep, deep. You give some good answers, Aaron. I ain't gonna lie.
Thank you.
I ain't gonna lie. I, I, I be trying to get you and give you some good questions, and you be knocking them down. I ain't gonna lie. I want to talk to you, Aaron, about we talk a lot about frequency, we talk a lot about vibration, we talk a lot about resonance. Nikola Tesla, so many of the geniuses of our time talked about these things. I've talked to a lot of people about once you try to leave a frequency, that frequency will kind of fight to stay around. So if
Mm,
you're depressed, depression may put up a fight before you completely leave the frequency of depression. What I want to ask you about is, do you think it's possible, Aaron? Say you are depressed about being poor, since you used the idea, you talked about money earlier, and you got this idea, you're depressed about being poor, and you got this idea about playing the lotto and playing a certain number, and you played the number, you played the lotto for a certain amount of time, and you didn't win the lotto, you didn't win the number, you didn't hit the number. So you're even more depressed than you were before you got that idea. Do you think it's possible that that frequency disguised itself as that good thought of playing the lotto, of that idea of prosperity, because it knew that once you felt that, you was going to be stuck in that frequency for even a long amount of time than you was to begin with? So could bad frequencies disguise themselves as good thoughts just to trick us to stay in that frequency? Because sometimes we'd be like, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna fast, and then I'm gonna lose weight, fast, all types of shit can happen, Aaron. So talk to me about bad frequency disguising itself
So
as good thoughts.
so we cannot manipulate the universe.
Yeah.
You may be thinking that you're vibrating one thing or you're expressing that you want something, but what is the vibrational quality, what is the light quotient of the energy? So in that scenario, what I'm seeing is that that person was trying to do something from a place of lack, so
Okay.
the vibration of lack just
Okay.
continued to show up in the unfolding of the experience.
Right. Right.
Now if you gamble or if you play the lottery from a place of abundance, like
Mm,
you're like, I don't care what happens. This is exciting. This is
right.
fun. I'm
Mm,
just in it for the ride, for the moment. There's no attachment. You're not doing it from lack. And this is why we say, well, why do the rich get richer and the poor stay poor? It's a momentum.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
a momentum that keeps building. So you are trying to convince yourself or manipulate the universe into believing that, or yourself, that you're going to go attract this thing and this is going to be your shortcut to abundance. But you're trying to have this shortcut because you actually believe in lack.
right.
And that's why it's showing up in that way. And I want to just say one thing for folks who like play the lottery a lot.
Mhm,
Um, because this is just perfect. When you come into large sums of money instantaneously, it's usually always contractual because a lot of you may be trying to play the lottery, but you are doing it from lack. Your higher self is not going to let you skip, hop, and jump over all the things you need to learn to truly be embodied and knowing who you are, and thus allow you to win the lottery.
mhm,
You're trying to make this shortcut that Rich is talking about, but it usually doesn't happen.
mhm. Erin, would you give different advice about depression and anxiety to men and women because maybe we internalize these emotions different? Would you give, if you was talking
Mhm.
to a man, if you was talking to a woman, would you give them different advice?
Actually, no,
Hmm.
because I see this in a universal way. The symptoms of misalignment with source are just showing you that you are believing in an illusion
Hmm.
and you're believing in some level of distortion. That's why you feel depressed or anxiety, which is just like, again, a momentum. You've spiraled down into a certain vibrational frequency that just keeps attracting the thoughts and the emotions, and also entities that latch on to those emotions and amplify them. This is why it can feel inescapable. So I
Mm,
would actually, I understand that men and women have different experiences, but at the core, it's the same. You are believing in something that's not true. Usually it's I'm unworthy. Usually it's I'm stuck. And if you know you're a quantum being, then you would recognize it's actually impossible to be stuck. Every reality that I desire to experience exists simultaneously, side by side, eternally.
mm,
So ask yourself, what am I believing?
mm,
And why? Why am I believing that this is true? Maybe you're depressed because a relationship just ended. And I want to just highlight, we are having a human experience. We are here to experience every single emotion. It's okay to have these emotions, but maybe you believe that now you will never experience love again, or you can't have that again, or you weren't good enough. And that's why you feel this immense loss, as opposed to celebrating what the experience was and releasing it and moving on into your next octave, your next frequency of reflections. What are you believing is step one. That's what you want to ask yourself.
mm. Do you think this is a weird question. I started out the program by talking about having more access to the light spectrum. Sometimes it could seem anxious. If having more access to the light spectrum can give you a feeling of anxiety, do you think who we call God, this must be the most anxious person that we could ever encounter? Do you think that that on a higher levels, like in a human perspective, we don't think that these entities have anxiety? Do you think that these entities experience what we in a human term we call anxiety if they have access to such a bird's eye view or such access to such a large part of the light spectrum.
Are you talking about lower vibrational entities? Like what, just to get context?
High
Or
higher
just
higher
being
level
higher beings?
higher beings that have access to more of the light spectrum. Like, let's say, like right now, you're looking at me and you on the screen, but let's say you were looking at a view of the United States on the screen. There's so much to look at, there's so much stimulation. It
I
may
see.
bother you a little bit. So, do you think entities in a high spectrum they go through this and we just don't know it on this level because we think they're so magnificent?
There is ascension on every level, and I feel the Arcturian Council coming in to answer this.
Uh-oh.
There's ascension on every level, and every dimensional plane of consciousness comes with its own challenges,
Mhm.
and sort of like this next frequency that they're aiming to achieve.
Mm,
But if a being is, let's say you're anchored in a seventh dimensional consciousness,
mm.
that is just who you are as a being. So you don't experience it the same way that a human would experience it,
Okay.
because you are vibrationally attuned to
Mhm,
be able to function in that level of reality.
mhm, mhm.
You've
No, indeed.
expanded into that level of consciousness. You are mastered in that level of consciousness. But the step up above that, are there other challenges? Yes, there will always be these things that we go through in the ascension spiral up.
Indeed. No, definitely indeed. Let me give me some good questions in the chat. I want to get questions a little earlier, but we was having such a good conversation that I had to keep going. But give me some good questions in the chat. I want to get to some questions from the people. I know this is such a popular topic with the people, and a lot of people deal with it. Give me some good questions for Erin, and while we wait for the questions to pour in, Erin, give them your website so they can support you and your services and anything you got coming up.
Okay. You can find me at www.erinlyonsofficial.com. I'm also Erin Lyons Official on Instagram and TikTok, Erin Lyons TV on YouTube. I am actually in Atlanta right now, and I'm going to be speaking at an event on Saturday, this 11/11 event. My friend is throwing the glow up, so Londrell is going to be there, these other artists, and I'm doing a light code DJ set, and ecstatic dance workshop. So head to Eventbrite. You can just search the glow up, and yeah, if you want to come hang and kick it, it'll be really fun.
All right, let's get to these questions. Erica wants to know, what do you do about feeling left behind?
Mm.
Very popular question.
I have this shadow work question for you, Erica. Who are you trying to impress?
Mm,
Because left behind by whose metric and what standard? Is
mm.
it a boss, your mom, a partner, an ex? Who do you think is leaving you behind? And then let's go deeper. Why do you believe that they have access to something that you don't have as a quantum being? Because whatever's available to them is also available to you. And the fact that they are having that experience is more so of an example of what's possible for you than the fact that you can't have it. It's impossible to be left behind because we all have access to the same energy, the same field. Are we here to do different things? Yes. But the feeling of being left behind is just your ego believing that other people have things that you can't have.
Indeed. Let's get to the next question. The next question, Laquita Marie wants to know, how do you decipher or hone into what your purpose is? And is it necessary to do your shadow work to truly come into alignment with your purpose?
I know a lot of people have questions about purpose. What I'm going to say is, and it goes back to what I said earlier about purpose is multi-dimensional. Follow your highest excitement now. And a really good channeler that speaks on this is Bashar.
Sure.
Um, Follow your highest excitement, because the frequency translation of excitement is literally your higher self saying, "Hey, if you move in this direction, There are going to be some people, some opportunities, some resources, some things that are going to bring you joy. So this is where we have to get out of like the thinking mind that's trying to strategize something and listen to what just what's drawing me in right now without the need to know the details and just move forward. And
Mm,
it will guide you to like this bigger purpose that you're trying to discover. So basically follow the small daily steps and don't overwhelm yourself with like this one thing that you need to figure out.
indeed. I really like this next question, Aaron. Oh, I really like this. Bar Heavy wants to know, should I keep my peace or help those suffering? We kind of alluded to it earlier, but you know,
Yeah.
when you help those suffering, your peace goes out the window a lot of times. So, what should you do, Aaron? What should you
um
do?
keep okay, so when you keep your peace, you are helping those who are suffering. Because
Mm,
again, you're
mm,
holding the field. You're holding the collective vibrational frequency that allows other people to have access. Now, what I will say is like it's so funny. Sometimes I'll see certain things. Like earlier, I was at the airport and somebody was like going through something, and I'll just tap in with Source, and I'm like, should I help? And Source is so funny. They're
wow.
just like, if you can hold your frequency and still be in joy, yes. If what they're displaying right now is going to bring you down, then no.
Mm, mm. Great answer. Great question. Great answer. Yeah, this is what it's about, family. This is definitely what it's about. People are actually people are texting me questions. Let me actually how to this is from Tiffany, a family member of mine, my sister actually. So I wasn't gonna say it's my sister, but this I just said let me say this from my sister. How to quiet thoughts once and for all to end things when in a dark place. That's from Brother Richie's sister. She's watching. This is important, Erin. You have reached my sister. Go ahead, Erin. Come on. All right, come on. Let's go.
Okay. This is what feel like the masters of a mentee, all the yogis and the gurus and the rishis in the field right now. And what they're saying is actually
Mm-hmm.
people think enlightenment is like I will never think a negative thought. But what actually
Hmm.
happens is a negative thought can come by and I will observe it with no judgment or
Mm,
attachment. And then I am truly free. So, for your sister, what I would recommend is a begin with a daily meditation practice, 15 minutes. That's it. And then you're going to start to calibrate. Now, the thing when we first start meditating, I don't know if she's already meditating, the thoughts will actually get louder. But I want you to try building up to a place where the thought is there, but you don't even respond to it. You're like, okay, so what? It's there. And then it loses its grip. And then you enter that 0 point, and then you will have more positive thoughts dominantly. So the goal is not to eradicate all negative thoughts, guys. It's to dominantly have positive thoughts or more like usually have positive thoughts, but negative thoughts are a part of the journey and it's a part of your mastery.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, my sister text. I like that. She said, "I like that." Yeah, okay. No, that was like I said. You give amazing, amazing answers. That's
Thank
why I
you.
knew this topic would be great. Um, do you trust your thoughts, Aaron? Whether they're good or bad, do you trust them or they're just like whatever?
Mm.
They be like, Aaron, you could be
Well,
a billionaire. Do you trust them or you just like whatever? It's just a thought. I'm gonna keep.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit different for me because Source is like in my head 24/7. So I hold that frequency of Source as my metric. If it doesn't feel like that, then I know maybe it's my ego or it's something energetically in the field or like something trying to come in or whatever the case may be. So find something that you hold as your like something that you can really trust. Like if it feels like this, or if it makes me feel like this, then I can trust it. But if it doesn't, even if I'm like questioning it, then something's out of alignment. Now, this is something that happens to me a lot and a lot more recently is the frequency is blended. It's like so blended where I'm like, I don't know. And it could just be maybe a decision I have to make or something I'm getting like a psychic download on, but I'm like, I just don't know. But where I am now is if I don't know, that still means that it's not aligned.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because when it comes from source, it's a full body yes, it's a heart expander, it's a soul uplifter. If it does not feel like that, it's a no.
Hmm. Erin, so I've heard you, Dr. Phil Valentine, as well as many others say two things that seem to, I don't know if contradict themselves is the word, but y'all talk about being observant to your thoughts, and I practice that, and it helps a lot. Being observing my thoughts and not being attached to my thoughts. But Aaron, once that thought comes by, let's say my son walks by the room and he got a smile on his face. I'm no longer the observer of the thought. Oh, I'm fully entrenched in that thought. I love that boy to death. He smiled. I'm engaged in that thought. And I love it. I become one with that thought. So
Mhm,
y'all tell us,
mhm.
be observant, but you all also tell us love is the only law, the only rule of the universe. If I'm really going to experience love, Aaron, I can't be an observer. I got to be in the game to play it. When you observing, you in the bench watching the game. I can't watch the game and love in this world at the same time. I got to be in this world to love. So talk to me about,
Yeah.
I feel as though it's a contradiction to observe, but at the same time to be in this world and to truly love somebody unconditional.
So this is why we said earlier, if you like the thought and it's in alignment with love and joy and abundance and peace, and your body will tell you that because every molecule in your makeup will vibrate faster, then
Mm,
engage it. Using the observer method is about neutralizing the energy when the thought is pulling you down.
okay. Okay. Okay.
Thinking good thoughts that make you feel good is a very enjoyable experience.
Okay.
That is encouraged. Sources giving me, we encourage you to play in your imagination, experience something beautiful in your mind. That's beautiful. It's that
Mhm,
you need to learn that when the opposite, the polarity is happening, how to dig yourself out of it as to not um be kind of like pulled down into depression and anxiety, etc.
mhm, mhm. No, definitely, definitely. Let me get to a couple some more questions tonight. Let me see. Okay, I want to ask this one. How do I keep my frequency high when I'm working in a toxic environment?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is going to feel very counterintuitive, but practice gratitude. Because what happens is the more you focus on what you like about this environment and even the people in this environment. So I'll give you an example. It can be, I'm so grateful and thankful for this as being a source of income for me right now. I love the skills that I've learned here. I know I'm not staying here forever. I know it's temporary, but I recognize the value that's here. I recognize the value of these people and how the income here is also expanding their families. Now, you see how it starts to just build in a momentum that then you see that place in a new light. And because you're seeing it in a new light, you will quantum timeline jump, collapse time. And now you are in a different parallel version of that job, and you will experience different parallel versions of those people. And then it's all just different. It's not the same. You can become a vibrational match to another job that you want. So, this is actually something that I tell people all the time who are like wanting a new job. I'm like, well, the first step to the new job is actually falling in love with the one you have. Then that activates the frequency that allows the new job to come in. It's vibrational match. So you can do that. You can also um focus on yourself. I'm hearing specifically for you. Like, I don't know if you work with people that just gossip a lot, is what it feels like to me in your field. Focus on yourself and stop caring about what they think about you.
Mm, indeed. You know what I want to ask you, Aaron, is that in terms of thinking positive in terms of, we live in a new society that is totally different from 10, 15 years ago because of social media and because of the internet. So a lot of relationships, like a lot of us grew up, some of us grew up and we heard about our grandparents being together for 20, 30 years, or we heard about relationships where people were together for long periods of time.
Mhm.
In today's era, if somebody encounters an obstacle, they're like, I got to get the hell out of here. Because they may say because the energy is off. How long do you stay in an environment that seems depression,
Mm.
that seems
Mhm.
anxious? Um, because it seems like we just not having it no more in this new generation, but the old generation. And we're wondering why relationships don't last. But I'm trying to figure out, is being in a long relationship and dealing with toxicity better than just always bailing out a relationship and never experiencing a relationship at all? So talk to me about this new age, this new era where anytime they encounter a problem, it seems they get the hell out of Dodge versus dealing with toxicity over what we
Mhm.
call toxicity, because all marriages, relationships have problems, but dealing with problems for, let's say, 3 5, say you beefing with your man Aaron for 5 years. People ain't doing that in today's generation. So how should we navigate
Oh
where
my
we're in a
goodness.
relationship but at the same time dealing with anxiety and depression in a healthy way, Aaron?
Relationships are so complex and specific to the two people because their souls have brought them together in this moment of time to exchange something, to learn something. And typically, what I tell people is ride the ride until you want to get off. Only you can truly know
Yeah.
when you want to leave. Now, if I'm a firm believer in patterns and cycles, if somebody's been showing you the same thing for 3 years,
Mm,
chances are in the fourth year, nothing's going to change. It doesn't mean that it can't, but you have to, there's a balance with this, a balance of being realistic. Look at what's happening. But also what I'll say is do everything that you can. So when you realize I've exhausted every option, you have no regret when it's time to leave.
mhm. Excellent.
Do everything that you possibly can.
Thank
If
you.
you want to try therapy, if you want to try a new communication style, I don't know, you want to read the 5 love languages and you want to apply that, like do what you can just so you can show yourself, okay, it's just not meant to be. And oftentimes that is the contractual lesson, recognizing when it's time to leave and trusting yourself to make that decision.
All right, so we have somebody. Some they say somebody's spamming the chat. Let me ask this question. Obviously, this person really wants this question asked. Ocean Eyes wants to know, how can I come out of the victim archetype where my narcissistic mother thrives to see me down and control me?
Recognize that your mom is largely acting from a place of unawareness and a set of programs that have been hardwired into her subconsciousness, her DNA, her cellular system, her nervous system. All of this is a manifestation of the person that you're seeing in front of you, or your mom is a manifestation of all these things that's happening with her internally. When even with our family, and this is really really difficult with our even with our family, when we don't take it personal and we understand that they are operating on a system that they are largely unaware of, we can stop internalizing what they're saying and what they're doing. Creating distance also helps. I don't
Mm,
know if you live with
yeah.
your mom, but to heal ourselves, we have to put ourselves in an environment that's conducive for healing.
Mhm,
So on a practical level, I would start strategizing, okay, how much money do I need to save to make this change for myself?
mhm,
Understanding that I can no longer stay here. If you sit in that in the comfort of the same thing, then the same thing happens. This is where willpower is so important. You have to desire your peace and your happiness more than the comfort of what you've always known.
indeed. Indeed. Yeah, this is some real good advice tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm gonna get to about three more questions, and then I'm gonna get out of here, family. We're gonna do about three more questions,
I
but
wanna I
yeah,
wanna go back really quickly, Rich. The
mhm,
previous question you asked me about, I think it's like people who leave relationships fast, and I
very
just
fast.
because I need
Yes.
to address this too.
Mm,
Stop looking for the perfect person. Some people look for the perfect person, and if someone's doing one thing and you don't allow that person to grow, you're not operating in unconditional love. That can also be your lesson, is to learn how to be
mm,
unconditional with people. We
wow.
want people to accept all of our flaws, but as soon as they do something, we're like, you know what? Peace, homie, I'm out. Like, that's
Mhm.
not being unconditional. Like, imagine if Source was like that with you, but Source is not like that with any of us. Pure, unconditional love. Now, being unconditional also doesn't mean staying beyond your own fulfillment. So there's a balance, but I had to go back to that.
Indeed, I'm glad I'm glad you went back on that. I'm very glad you went back on that. Let's get to. I got a couple of super chat questions. Any insight for the feeling of wanting to explore connections with others, but also completely not wanting any new connections as an intro? Wow, what a question! You want to explore new connections, but you also
Mm.
completely not. Wow, I don't even know if I can answer that one, Aaron. Wow.
So I'm just tuning into this person's frequency. So
Yeah.
basically, you have a conflicting vibration on this
Okay.
topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I'm actually seeing for you, Ray, is that you want these new connections, but based on previous experiences, you're afraid to have those connections. It's not that you don't actually, you can't want something and not want it. Like, one is usually more dominant. You want it. Like, I can see that you want it, but you're telling yourself, but what if, man, like, what if it comes with that again? So it's not that you don't want the connection. You don't want what you perceive will come with the connection. So this is where I want you to reframe, like, instead of focusing on what you don't want, activate what you do want. Hey, universe, I know I've had some experiences where I attracted people that came with X, Y, and Z. This is what I learned from that. I'm ready for this new octave of reflections that make me feel X, Y, and Z. Can you deliver that, please? And then get
Mhm.
excited about the fact that the universe can bring you those people in that energy that you're wanting to experience, and then you dissolve the conflict.
Indeed. All right. Let's get to this next super chat, Aaron. This is Kicking It with Kev. Kicking It with Kev says, I love my wife and I know she loves me. How can I continue supporting my wife's ascension? You speak of both polarities, and I see myself on one side and my wife the other. Is this our way of feeling apart at times, but recompresses back with more love?
Mhm. Yeah, Kev, I want to thank you for this question because I know so many people here and just on the ascension journey in general. I've also experienced this. When you start to feel like maybe you are hitting a spiritual level that just it makes it difficult to maintain a intimate relationship with someone who's not going there with you.
Mhm.
What I have to say on this is remain in a frequency of compassion. If your partner is not judging you for the things that you're into and you're expanding into, and they genuinely are giving you love and you enjoy time with them, if you can accept that maybe this might not be a point of connection, however, you really do love the relationship and you can get that stimulation, like spiritual stimulation elsewhere, and like not in a cheating sense, but you can just get it elsewhere, then you can maintain that relation. Now, if you feel unfulfilled and the stimulation is a huge part of how you need to relate to someone, like on spiritual topics, then that's something you have to address for yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. Um, Appreciate the question, Kicking It with Kev. Really do. Rizzle Universe wants to know do you have a link to your event on Saturday?
Let me get it on Eventbrite, and I will drop it here in a bit.
Yeah. Did you put it some? Oh no, that's something else.
Let me see
Okay.
some.
Yeah, yeah. I'll post that before the end of the show. Let me get to let me see, how do I oh, I like this question. You ready, Erin, or are you trying to
I can multitask if that's
okay.
okay.
All right. Just wanted to know. I didn't want to.
Sounds good.
Queen Peace wants to know, how do I get out of the lack of putting everyone else's needs and wants above my own? It's a big
Stop.
problem with a lot of people.
Yeah, stop seeing yourself as the underdog that has to finish last. What this is about is
Mm,
typically our
mm,
if we grew up in a home where we had to do certain things to receive love, and when we did not do those things, then we got like punished or silent treatment or whatever it is. You do things for other people before you do them for yourself, because it's a people pleasing pattern, and what you're subconsciously believing is that if I do not do these things, I will not be lovable. And
mm.
so we don't want to risk not getting love, so we do things to
Woo!
maintain getting that outside source. So you have to
Shit.
challenge yourself, okay? If I don't do this thing and for whatever reason this person stops loving me, is that a reflection of me or them? Well, them, because that means they're a conditional being that didn't actually care about
Mm,
your needs.
yeah. Wow. Erin, let me ask you, do you let now that you're on a certain frequency and certain vibe, a certain you have a certain amount of knowledge, would you let, in terms of being around a person who may have negativity or whatever, would you let your family slide a lot more than the average person because they're family, so they can fuck you over a lot more because they are family? I notice people that like,
Oh man, this is funny. Um Actually, Rich, I'm like, I don't let nobody slide. And
uh,
it's like a superpower, but I would even say it's a weakness too, because I have such a high standard. And this is when I have to really be gentle and compassionate, but I tend to be very like the standards that I have for myself. It's not that I put them on other people, but I don't allow people in my inner realm or world just because they're family.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Because my vibration is that important to me.
It's that important. It's that important.
It like is that important.
How long did it take you to get to that point? Like,
When I was going through my spiritual awakening between 19 to like 24, I really kind of like cut my family off. Like I spoke to them, but I didn't see them often because I moved and whatever. But I did not allow them to be that close to me. And I know that's really difficult for people, but when I was fully healed and when I was fully anchored in, earlier we spoke about like you having the dominant vibration. When
mhm,
I felt like I had the dominant vibration, that's when I felt like I can open myself up to allow people in my space again, because what they're doing or saying or how they're acting is no longer impacting me or triggering me.
mhm,
So distance is one of the most difficult things we can do with people that we love and care about, but sometimes is necessary. And for me personally, like this is not my recommendation for everybody. I
mhm,
personally knew that I needed distance to heal, to grow, to expand. And you're consuming so much information that they can't even fathom. Like you have to create
mhm,
distance sometimes.
mm. And if you didn't, you wouldn't be where you're at now, huh?
If I didn't give myself that chance to really develop my relationship with source, I would have stayed triggered. I would have stayed wounded. I would have stayed traumatized from different experiences. So the distance, and people can perceive distance as you don't love them. And that's actually something that I'm healing now, like after the distance with my family, is explaining to them why I put certain boundaries and barriers in place.
Mhm.
So,
Indeed.
there are phases and stages of this. It's not easy for any of us.
Oh, indeed. It's a real conversation tonight, family. Let me we're gonna do one more question and then we're gonna get out of here, family. One more question. Erin, S. Dot wants to know, are psychic attacks real?
Yeah. Psychic attacks are very real. So, what happens with a psychic attack is you're thinking this negative thought, and usually it's about yourself.
Mhm.
And there's an energy that is watching you do this, and they say, "Oh, that's what they believe about themselves. How can I amplify it? How can I attach on to that frequency and expand it?" It's like pushing a button like send more, send more, send more. So
Mhm.
something you want to start doing is, if you are just, I mean, awareness is always the first step, but it's also the most difficult because it's like, how do we even recognize that we're doing that? Look at how you feel, kind of reverse engineer it. Okay, how do I feel right now? If I feel good, I'm thinking some good thoughts. If I feel bad, okay, that means the thoughts that I'm thinking are just attracting more similar thoughts. And some energy somewhere is seeing this and also amplifying it and sending me more thoughts. Let me, now you can, if you want to address the thoughts head on, like debunk them, you can. I mean, that's really difficult. Or meditate, neutralize the thoughts, distract yourself, go do something fun. Stop like thinking about the same thing. You got to find ways to shift focus.
Mhm. Mhm. Shift focus, indeed.
Yeah,
Indeed.
shift focus.
So, Erin, I definitely appreciate you coming on tonight. I mean, this was such a magnificent conversation. This is one I got to play back myself, family. That's how good it was.
This is amazing.
Yeah, once again, leave your, you got the event coming up. You have services. I know a lot of people, they was talking in the chat about getting readings from you. Let the people know everything you got on so they could get in touch with you, Erin.
So I do have quantum healing sessions, but I am being forced into a 3-month break right now. So if you can go to erinlyonsofficial.com. I'm gonna have probably like 3 more weeks ish of availability. See if something's available. Um Courses, meditations. I really recommend my morning quantum leap meditation for
Oh,
those of you who are like, how do I pull myself out of this lower energy, this lower vibration? Every in the morning we have an opportunity, and if you follow Abe Hicks, this is what they always talk about. Like, in the morning you establish the vibrational tone for your day. So if you start it in a high frequency, it just carries out, and then every single day that just keeps becoming your dominant frequency. So I have that meditation with the angelic realm that's really powerful, and that's what I'll recommend for now. Yeah, everything else is sort of like longer programs that are like closed until further notice.
indeed. And you left your website? I didn't wasn't sure.
Yes. I know it's in the chat, but I'll go ahead and drop it one more time.
Oh, I think King Simon is
Yeah,
Erin
and thank you.
Lyons.
Thank
Yeah,
you. You have been so helpful to
ErinLyonsOfficial.com.
me. I've been seeing you. I appreciate you, friend.
Indeed. And he actually got a YouTube. It would be dope if you go on his YouTube too, Erin, King Simon. Good brother right
Okay,
there.
I'll
He
check
got
you
a-
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
my comments aren't posting. I don't know why. So I don't know. I'll send the links to you, Rich, and maybe you can
Yeah, yeah. I'll
share
put them
them.
up. I'll put them in the description or the chat or whatever. Yeah, just send me the link, text it to me or email it to me, and I'll post it after the show.
Okay,
But
awesome.
yeah, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know a lot of y'all. Let me see. Let's do one
Yeah,
more, Erin. You want to do one more before we get out of here? Let's sneak. Let's be sneaky.
this is
Let's
literally my job. I can stay here all night. No.
let's sneak and do one more question because I see y'all in the chat. Let's do one more question before Brother Rich and Aaron gets out of here. All right. Give me a question, y'all. The chat. There's so many people posting. I done missed out on all the questions. But give me one more question in the chat. Uh.
How do you overcome unworthiness? I would like to attack this
Oh,
one.
please do. Okay, I see it now.
Mm.
Right, I see it. Yeah.
How do I overcome
Hmm.
unworthiness?
Man. Mm.
I want you to understand that the concept of worth in and of itself is an illusion, because your worth is built into being existing. Source's whole point and reason for being is to expand and expand through you. So your worth is, it is who you are. It's not something you earn. It's not something you prove. Just being you. Even if, this is like really important, even if you think you're not good enough and you don't have the life that you want, or you're not manifesting things or attracting things, or you don't like the decisions that you've made, in the eyes of source, those are all still immensely valuable experiences.
Mm.
So this is why, good or bad, everything that you're here experiencing goes into the universal, actually the omniversal akashic records of all that is, and continues to expand creation forward. That is your true worth. That just existing, you are contributing to the expansion of God, of source, of creation itself. That's it.
Mm.
Unquestionable, indestructible, invincible. Your worth, it's one of those things that it is what it is. That's it.
Wow. Beautiful. You know what's interesting, Aaron, just another personal experience. You see, I was born in an era of typewriters before computers came out and people would use typewriters. And for whatever reason, it's just interesting when you could look back at your life. I used to just always type as a kid. I didn't know how, because people were big on learning how to type without looking at the typewriter. So that was big. Learn how to type without looking at the typewriter. And the first thing I ever wanted to learn how to type without looking at the typewriter, and I know to this day, and I was just fascinated with typing it, was my name. My name is Richard Merritt. My last name is Merritt. So I would type, Richard Merritt is the best in the world. And I'm like 6 years old typing this, and I would just type it over and I didn't think nothing over it. But then when I got older and I got into the spiritual realm, and I said to myself, why did I always type that? What was it? And so
Mhm.
it's just a blessing, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful that I was born. Whatever delivered that message to me, whatever wanted
Mm.
to come through, like it's hardwired into me to think
Mhm.
that way. And I'm talking about, I'm 6 years old. I remember it to this day, Richard. I just remember it, and it was just hardwired, man. So I'm just reminiscing, and I'm thankful for stuff like that, Aaron.
Mm.
Really, man.
Mhm.
Wow, that was that's
And I love this story because it highlights that when we're children, we already know.
yeah,
We come with that God spark that just wants to express and experience, and then programmed adults tell us you're not good enough, or you didn't do this, or you're not doing this. So then it just starts to, we start to believe that that's the truth.
yeah,
So this unworthiness is also attached to when we feel like we aren't meeting the standards of society. I don't make enough money. I'm not married yet. I didn't get my first house. Like all these they're programs. They're just programs, and because you feel that you haven't accomplished them, you see yourself as being unworthy. So this is what I had to do when I was rewiring like the way that I saw myself in my world.
mm,
My sense of worth and value and wealth had to become completely separate than the circumstances that I were experiencing. And what I mean is, I don't care if you live in the hood right now, in the projects, whatever, you step outside and you embody the energy of a billionaire.
mm,
Hold that attitude towards yourself. My wealth is not associated with matrix conditions and programs. That's how you become that glitch in the matrix, because you are not operating on needing the game to tell you who you are. You know who you are. Then you break through, and then you can shift into a parallel universe, actually.
mm, mm. Aaron, real quick, if somebody was to come up to you and say, I know I just can't stop, I just keep going,
It's
right? I'm
okay.
sorry, I can't help it. If somebody was to come up to you, Aaron, and they was to say, yo, Aaron, this shit out here is crazy, right? they hit you with the right. How would you respond to that? Because a lot of people get encountered with that and they end up agreeing and they end up cursing themselves. They end up putting a spell on themselves. They be like, yeah, it's fucked up out here. So how would you respond if I came to you like, yo,
Mm.
Erin, you see what's going on in the news? Man, it's crazy out here, right? How like what's usually the response to that?
Well, thankfully, I don't really have people in my immediate world who are in that
Right,
vibration
yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
but, like other family and people like that, I just smile and nod, don't engage.
Just don't
I don't
engage.
go deeper. I let them The thing is, it's so as humans, we're just wired to be social, so these are points of conversation to be like, start complaining about things or to start talking about things, and we don't want to be weird, we don't want to be different, so we allow ourselves to be sucked into those conversations. But you will get to a point where you're like, I'm just not going there vibrationally, because I recognize how detrimental that is to myself
Mhm,
and to everybody else. It doesn't mean that you won't like listen. It's not always a teaching moment. You just sit and listen without judgment. But I typically don't allow myself to be pulled down into that energy, because whatever you are giving attention, you just activate. So you're going to keep seeing more of it. If you wake up and you're like, life is fucked up, reality is going to be like every day knocking on your door, like, life is fucked up. And you will continue to have those experiences. If you're like, life is great, life is going to be great. We're not all living the same version of Earth.
mhm.
You're on your own planet of Earth.
Indeed, indeed. Wow. Multiverse, is that the word? Would you use that word or
Yeah. Yeah.
multiverse?
It's infinite.
Infinite, indeed. Family, wow. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. What a show,
Thank
Erin
you guys
Lyons.
so much.
You
Thank
I
you.
seen you text me some of your sites. I'm gonna post Erin Lyons' site in the chat after the show. Her Eventbrite page and also ErinLyonsOfficial.com. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This is Brother Rich, Erin Lyons. With that being said, we signing out, family. See you next time.
Bye,
Peace.
guys. Thank you,
Peace.
Rich. Good
Yes,
night,
yes.
guys.
Peace.